Hello, everyone. I'm James Milan. Welcome to this town hall update. I am joined, as always, at least for a little while longer, by our town manager, Adam Chapdelaine. Hey, Adam.
Hey, James. How are you?
Good. Very good. Thanks. Obviously, lots of people are aware that you will be leaving, and we want to talk about that. But we'll save that till the end of this update and start with some other stuff, because there's other things of significance to discuss as well. Specifically, I'd like to start with the fact that we are now 2 years to the almost to the week, basically, marking Arlington's first moves to counter COVID-19, which was shutting down the first school. And that happened just about 2 years ago this week. Obviously, we don't need to talk about the craziness that has engulfed us all locally and globally for all that time. But what I'd like to do is just take this opportunity to ask you to reflect back on these 2 years. There's been, as we know, a lot of grim parts and some real bright spots as well. So why don't you just kind of give us your synopsis of what we've been through and your own part in that?
Absolutely. And so I think what I'll say is, as you said, yesterday was actually the 2-year anniversary. March 9th was the 2-year anniversary of our first case in Arlington. So we were one of the earlier cases in the Commonwealth, one of the earlier places to have a case. So yesterday, Christine Barngiorno, Director of Health and Human Services, put together a gathering for staff to sort of memorialize, maybe even some ways celebrate that we came through these past 2 years together, and shared remarks from Christine and those on her staff. We heard from the fire chief. I had an opportunity to say a few things, look back at some slideshows and videos that staff and the team had put together that memorialized the early decision-making, the masking, the continued decision-making, the vaccinations that have been ongoing, and then the boosters beyond that, really memorializing all the good work that's been done by the town and volunteers over the past couple of years. And I think my reflection, I said this yesterday to those gathered, and I'd say again, when I think about reflecting on the past 2 years, I keep coming back to the people. We all suffered our version of the trauma of the pandemic and our version of challenge, whether we were directly or indirectly impacted by the virus itself. But I feel so lucky that the town has this amazing team of employees that really went above and beyond for an extended period of time to serve the residents of the town. And they did it, for the most part, with an incredibly positive attitude and an upbeat spirit. Any of us could be forgiven in the past 2 years for not being 100% upbeat or positive, right? But I continue to be moved by the power of the humanity of those that we have the chance to work with. And yesterday was a day for staff to gather, but I would spread those reflections to many in the community that we had the chance on a volunteer basis or just a resident basis to interact with, get support from, provide services to. I think hopefully as some of the pain and trauma and the loss of the pandemic hopefully begins to fade with time, or at least lessen, some of that pain be lessened with time, that we have the chance to think back fondly on the human connections that we fought hard to maintain and foster over the past 2 years here in town.
Yes. Well said, as usual. And I think, lots and lots of folks would your words would resonate in their own lives. And certainly it is something that we will take with us on the positive side. And as you said, even in these updates alone over these last couple of years, and in my conversations with you, we have been up and we have been down and back and forth. So really good recognition of that. One of the bright spots in, if you could call it that, of enduring this pandemic. And let's note I'm sure you would agree. We're looking back on a couple of years now because we're kind of marking this anniversary, but that's not to say that we're not dealing with it still and going to be,
Right.
for the foreseeable future. So, of course, with that acknowledgement, one of the bright spots was the ARPA funding that was made available to Arlington and so many communities around the country. That ARPA, of course, stands for American Rescue Plan Act. We have spoken about these funds many times before, but can you just kind of give us a status update on the funding, the various programs that is buttressing right now, that those funds are buttressing right now here in town, and just where things stand?
Absolutely. So broadly speaking, we're still working to make some updates to that framework, which, as you suggested, you and I have talked about a number of times now. And we'll be bringing those back to the select board later this month, towards the end of March, to get some changes to the framework endorsed. But today I wanted to highlight a couple, I think, very positive, happy things. Previously endorsed, previously funded through ARPA was a small business and nonprofit assistance program. The Planning and Community Development Department has worked really hard on processing those applications and have now approved 80 grants to small businesses and nonprofits. And the checks are going to go out right at the start of next week. So we're finally going to be able to put that money into action and hopefully help businesses and nonprofits across the whole community. Immediately after that, the tenant assistance program that's been funded by ARPA will be opened up on March 16th, so just next week. So there'll be an opportunity for people who were not eligible from the previous rounds of CDBG and then Community Preservation Act funding for tenant assistance. This will actually have wider eligibility so that people at higher income levels who have still likely suffered strain from the pandemic will be able to avail themselves to these resources. So that'll be starting next week. And we've officially posted the job opening for an community engagement and outreach coordinator that will report directly to our DEI director, Jill Harvey. And that's been posted. It's on the town website. It's on the MMA, Mass Municipal Association website, as well as other sources throughout the region. So we're excited about that, to add another staff member to the team to help us continue our outreach to historically marginalized or vulnerable populations in Arlington. So I think some very material, positive progress on the types of things we wanted to see ARPA do right from the start.
Absolutely, and great to see that taking final form, and people starting to really get the benefits of those funds. All right, so let's talk about something that is, as I said to you before we went on air, not much of a surprise for a lot of people in town, I think, in a lot of ways, and still a shock. And that is, of course, you are going to be leaving us. This is probably not news to a lot of people in our audience right now. We featured it as the top story and the main story in our own newscast with an interview that you did with my colleague and news director, Jeff Barnett, last week. So folks know about it, but we really are interested to get your, whatever your thoughts are at this moment for the coming months of your tenure here, and the fact that will end in June.
So, one of the struggles is having multiple conversations, both publicly and privately, with many different people about this, and wanting to very sincerely make sure that my message is very consistent in what I'm saying. But I talked with Jeff, like you said, and I put out a statement that I shared with the select board on Monday, and I've tried to share it on social media. And ultimately, what I would say is, I've been so lucky, and I feel so grateful to have had the opportunity I've had here in Arlington. This is truly, I think, a unique community in Massachusetts that's made up of an incredible team of employees, an amazing group of residents, really tremendous volunteers and elected officials. And it collectively has all come together for a long time, even before my tenure here, to create some really great outcomes here in Arlington. It just continues to be a place that people really want to be able to live, work, play, raise a family, lead a life, whatever it might be. And I'll feel forever grateful to have had that opportunity. At the same time, and I think it comes as no surprise because I've thought about leaving a few times before, I'm ready for a change, a change of potentially change of pace, scenery, topical area of focus. I'm not sure that whether or not I'll stay in municipal government or not. I don't want to be so arrogant as to think the world is wide open to me. Right? I want to take a little breather, hopefully during the summertime months, and take some time to figure out what it is that I'd like to do next. And it might find me back in government, or it might find me somewhere else. But ultimately, there's no magic to the number 10 years, but I did come to this decision to say this feels like this is the right time, where the timing of all of this, I think, can be best for all parties, where it gives me this personal opportunity to take some time to reflect and recharge a little bit, hopefully over the summer, while staying here to help get through town meeting, get a budget adopted, and leave the town in as best shape possible while it thinks about how to do a recruitment for the next manager. So I hope after, for myself and for anybody reacting to it, after any of the emotions or feelings that would go along with a departure, that we can all look back and say it was a good run, a good 10-year period, not perfect. No one, nothing is, no one is, but a good run where I hope I can be remembered, short-term and long-term, as someone that left the town in better shape than when I found it. And ultimately, I will always, in some shape or form, Arlington will always be a home to me. It's really where I built my professional career and reputation, and I'll forever be grateful for having the chance to do so.
And I think I speak for many, grateful to you and grateful for this 10-year tenure, which has, as you said, we've done well. We've done well as a community. You've done well as our main administrator here. You've pulled in great people to work with you, and we have all seen those benefits. Obviously, at ACMi, we have our fingers in a number of different pies and our tendrils out in various places in the community. Everything that we have gotten back on this is that it's a bit of a blow for everybody, because we have felt comfortable and confident under your leadership. So, I think there's a couple of things that cushion the blow. One of them, of course, is that you've set up a nice little ramp down time for yourself. We will have you stewarding us through these next number of months. So that's good. And the second thing is that for myself, I look forward to, each and every one of the upcoming town hall updates we will be doing, and the conversations that I've had with you over the years, they have been among the great pleasures of my work. So I look forward to cherishing those that remain, and to sharing them, of course, with our audience, obviously, and to sitting down with you closer to the end of your tenure for a real, thorough look back on what this decade has meant for you and for the town of Arlington. So we'll leave it at that for now.
That sounds great.
Thank you very much, as always, for your time. I have been speaking, do I need to say, with our town manager, Adam Chapdelaine, for this town hall update. As always, grateful to have Adam's time and attention, and grateful to have yours as well. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm James Milan. We'll see you next time.